Well, welcome again, ladies and gentlemen. This is our, I don't know, episode 2, I believe, of We the People Let's Talk. I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm going to get involved in politics right now. I have a gentleman here to my left, to the left, to the left, to the left, as Rush used to say. And he's very interesting. In fact, he's one of 4, I think there are 4 individuals that have qualified for the primary. I believe this gentleman is one of them, and I may have to be corrected on this. But his name is Sergio Ortiz, okay? And I believe the others, Bill Olson is actively running and I think qualified for it. Jose Santillo and what's the other gentleman's name? George Shepard III or Garnett, I believe his name is. George Garnett Shepard III.
Right.
Am I correct in that, Sergio?
Yes and no.
Yes and no?
They're all running.
Okay.
The only one qualified is me.
Well, we'll get into the qualifications. Let's start off with this, okay? You've been a friend of mine, and I have a lot of friends, believe it or not.
Yes.
But I have also been called King George III. So I'm authoritarian, a tyrant, and everything else. But that set aside, let's get into this thing about why you became interested in politics. First of all, your background. What kind of background do you have?
I've been a business owner for about 20 years. I started with a mortgage company that went away when the bubble burst, and then after that I've been doing real estate. I'm a real estate broker right now. I have 9 wonderful grandkids, and I've been married to my lovely wife for about 30 some years. And my background's always been business. Now,
Okay.
why did I start it in politics, you ask? It's because I know that I can make a difference, and God knows this country needs change. This country has given me a lot of opportunities. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for this country. So that love that I have for this country compels me to go ahead and run as a congressman.
Well, let me ask you, where do you hail from? Where did you come from?
I come from an island called Puerto Rico.
Oh, Puerto Rico. And how long were you there?
I lived there till I was 13 years old, moved into Chicago, Philadelphia. And
Chicago?
Chicago.
You went directly to Chicago?
I,
That has been a failed city.
yeah.
You know, I could go into that history, but I'm not going to bore anybody or yourself with that. Why Chicago?
Well, I was 13. My mom needed to go and help my sister, so I had no choice. I was dragged into Chicago, and I spent 14 winters over there.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have 5 brothers and sisters that still live in the Chicago area.
Okay, they all relocated from Puerto Rico to Chicago. How
Right.
long were you in Chicago now?
I
How many
lived-
weeks or how many hours?
Oh, Jesus. It's too long to think. But I came down here in 91, so from 77 to 86, I lived in Chicago. Then I moved to Philadelphia for a year and change, and then I came down.
Philadelphia, another one of those liberal cities.
I know.
Bad, and it's horrendous now. So is Chicago, so is Detroit. I could go on and on and on and ad infinitum.
Exactly.
So you came here and you established your business as a real estate broker? That's what you currently are, right?
Yes, I am a real estate broker right
Okay,
now.
why that occupation, that business?
It's great hours, and I love the opportunity to help people. I mean, the smile when people get their keys to the new house. There's no price to that. It's just pure joy when you see somebody fulfill their American dream, and to know that you're part of that process. It's just compensating the hard work
Well,
you gotta do.
let me ask you, how's the housing situation here in Osceola County or around the state, since you're in?
Right now, the housing market is very competitive. We have people coming here with cash, and cash is king.
Mostly New Yorkers
Mostly
want to
New
get out of
York,
New York City,
they
New York
wanna
State,
escape the New York tax and spend.
and bring their liberalism with them.
And you know what? I'd say it's a 50-50, because a lot of people who are just sick and tired of the government getting into their pockets, telling them what and what they cannot do, then they say, you know what? My conservative wisdom tells me that to go find somewhere where I have more liberty. And what better place than the state of liberty that we call Florida?
So you have wisdom. You know, a lot of people lack wisdom. All right, we could go through a learning process to acquire knowledge and everything else, and some individuals think they have the leadership qualities and everything else, but they lack wisdom. Okay, wisdom is basically gotten in your experience with life, applying a lot of things that you may read in history books or anything else, or philosophy, and really being able to discern things,
Right.
differentiate things, and make good decisions, regardless of whether they're political, non-political, or just life or living itself.
Right.
Let me ask you this. You want to make a change. We need a change. We did have a transformation, according to Obama, right?
Right. A
And,
fundamental
and
transformation.
I thought that fundamental change, okay, was very positive. Was it?
I don't think so.
No?
What during the Obama years, I wasn't making as much money as I am doing now. During the Obama years, it was a struggle for me personally and my family to get ahead. Once the administration changed, then the whole scheme of my life changed. I was able to earn more money, keep more of the money that I was making. I was paying less in taxes. When the Obama eras, I had to send back $45,000 of taxes one year. Once the administration changed, and it was a little bit less.
So do you attribute a lot of things to the change in administration with Trump being the leader, the true leader of the United States?
I believe that he did a lot of good things for this nation.
Like what? For example,
for
in your
example,
particular field.
Numbers don't lie. 20% or more Hispanics bought houses. 20% or more Hispanics opened new businesses. 50%, 15% of blacks started opening up their own businesses. When you have people buying houses, opening up their own businesses, getting out of the rat race and moving forward, that is very compensating and it's very well for the economy. So now that we had those businesses are either closed or gone. So the advancements that we had during the previous administration where people were owning houses, now we're getting into a bubble where some other people will not be able to maintain their houses because...
Well, the Biden administration is seeking unity, okay, making changes that are very positive, similar to Obama. What do you think about Biden, and how does it impact on housing?
Well, the problem with what he's doing is he is building a lot of apartment buildings. When you get those apartment buildings, you get people who don't have pride of ownership. They're moving away from owning a property, a house where you can go and plant a garden if that's what you want to do, versus living in an apartment building where you just rent space. And you don't have the camaraderie of like when you meet your neighbors and you go and have picnics and what have you not. People who generally dwell in those apartments, they congregate in their housing and that's about what they have.
What's your view on maybe the Democrats and even some of the Republicans and rhinos and nonpartisan individuals on affordable housing, especially here? Is that an issue in Osceola County?
In Osceola County, affordable housing is something that they will always use in politics. We need more affordable housing. We need to get people in places, and I understand that people are born every day. Let us concentrate on getting people to earn more money, have more freedom so they can afford to buy a house instead of having affordable housing as a staging area. Perfect example, I lived in Chicago.
Here we go again with Chicago.
There was
I'm all ears, as they say. Go ahead.
There was a place called Cabrini Green. It was a project. It was a multi-unit building. And I saw a documentary when I was there that on the ninth floor we had a lady and she's been there for decades. Then they went down a couple of stories lower, and her daughter was living in the same housing project for decades. Then they came down more steps, and her granddaughter was living there. So we're creating a multi-family dependence on government. When we have a grandmother, a granddaughter, and a daughter living off of the system instead of going out there and making something better with their lives, that's a problem that we need to change. We need to compensate the people to go out there. My wife, okay, personal. Before she met me, she had 3 kids, 1, 2, and a 4-year-old. She was on welfare. She went to school. She became a nurse. She educated herself. So if a lot of people say, well, it's kind of hard, I can't make it. If my wife did it and she's 5'0", if she went to school, became a nurse, and then the moment that she finished and she graduated, she went to the welfare office and says, "Here's, thank you very much. Here's your money. I don't need it anymore." And she hasn't relied on it since that has been 45 years since then.
So she believes in self-determination. You
yes.
have to take the initiative and have the motivation to do what's
Mhm.
right instead of taking out these handouts.
Right.
Okay. Let me ask you this. We have the three other individuals. There may be more individuals that are going to prime up themselves for a primary. How do you compare yourself to others? If you're more qualified, okay, than those others, in what respect are you more qualified?
Well, I have a leg up on them of the capacity to communicate effectively with the people. There is non-Hispanics in the race. They are challenged by the enigma of the Puerto Ricans and the Hispanics. This county right now, the district, is going to be 70% Hispanic. Out of that 70%, you're going to have 60-65% Puerto Ricans. And as you know, birds of a feather flock together. So I have a more concise statement to give out. My platform, it's more encompassing to what the heartbeat of this county has. And I project a future, not doom and gloom, but let's get together. Let's forge a more perfect union according to the words of this country and search forward for the betterment of all of us.
Well, how do you approach the Hispanics? Okay, I've heard that Puerto Rico has their political system, the way they identify or affiliate with the parties there is a lot different than here in the great United States.
Yes. For example, I'm wearing blue. If I was in Puerto Rico, I will be said that I belong to the conservatives, versus in the United States, red is more of the conservative color. Over there in Puerto Rico, actually, the biggest thing that saddens me is that there's three parties, but there's only one. They all say that they have a difference of opinion, but when they get into power, they all do the same thing. There is no change. You cannot make a difference. Love them or hate them. Those who hate Obama and those who hate Trump, but you could notice the difference. It was a palpable difference. But when in Puerto Rico, you don't have that. You have a mishmash of parties, and it seems to me that when the PNP says, "Oh, it's my turn to be governor," or the Progresista then say, "Oh, it's my turn to be governor," it's like a banana republic. And I love my country. I love this nation, and I love Puerto Rico. And I wish we could do a lot better for those 600,000 soldiers who have fought for this country. But when they come here, we have to teach them, and they have to learn the differences from one party to the other. We have to teach them that it is worthwhile voting here in America because it makes a difference. In Haines City, the mayor lost by 13 votes. The candidate that we were hoping to win, 13 votes. In Winter Haven, 30. Those numbers, you might not think, oh, it's only 13, but 13 people determine who was going to be major.
Well, even one vote makes a difference.
Of course,
on virtually anything.
Yes,
okay?
one vote is important.
Now, when you approach a Hispanic, okay, maybe somebody coming from Puerto Rico or Central America or South America, how do you approach them?
Very simple, like you and I are talking. Let's say I meet a Puerto Rican. The first thing I ask them is, "Where you from?" And they will tell me, "I'm from Puerto Rico." I says, "Yes, I know, but from where?" "Oh, I'm from Rincon, Aguadilla, Aguada." So then they opened up because then we have something to talk about. And I'll tell them, "Well, just you from Yabucoa," and usually I tell them from the capital. And they, "Oh, San Juan." Says, "No, Yabucoa, it's not the capital." But they get it, and we start talking, and we start building a rapport right away because it's something that we can talk about. I tell them, "Hey, have you been to Guabate?" And Guabate, it's a place where they have a lot of Hispanic, Puerto Rican food. It's like a street. It's like the food trucks over here, but it's a whole street. And a lot of people know where that is. Or I could tell them if we've been to Cataño, if we've been to the different towns, because I've been back to Puerto Rico on several occasions. So we have something that unites us. The same thing with Hispanics from other countries. The only nation I've been to is San Salvador, but I can relate to Venezuelans when they get here, And I said, you know what? When Venezuela was flowing with oil, they used to send it to my town because we had a refinery. So we used to get all that petroleum from Venezuela, and the country was doing great. So we assimilate easier than your normal non-Hispanic.
Well, I have an inquiring mind. That's why I'm curious, George. Okay, so I'm extremely curious. How do you convince an individual who maybe is a part of the less conservative party, okay, in Puerto Rico, to convert? How do you convince them to see the light and change their party affiliation?
Well, you know, the Bible says that my people perish by the lack of knowledge. And by the renewing of the mind, that's when a man changes. Once you teach your people, and once you not teach, but once you show them in black and white, this is the differences. Do you approve of this or do you approve of that? Are you in tune with this? Are you in tune with that? So that's when their mind starts to think and they start to say, you know what, it makes sense what you're saying. And I am more in tune with this than what the other party is showing. And right now it's the easiest because a lot of people that I've spoken with, they tell me, I am so sorry that I actually voted on the Democrat side because I see the hurt that they're doing to the nation. I see the problems that it's creating to society, and they repent from voting that way.
Let me ask you this, and then we'll get into more of a local thing, okay? You've seen the devastation in Puerto Rico, especially on the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. And we had a lot of individuals coming over here to Florida, to all parts of the United States. What do you think of the structure now? Do you believe that they're still corrupt?
In Puerto Rico?
Yes.
Of course they're corrupt. Not too long ago, I think it was last month, they arrested 2 mayors who were putting their hands in the cookie jar.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And this has been going on for years, decades?
Since
Regardless of party affiliation?
regardless of party affiliation. When I was in Puerto Rico in '77, it started. I think it started before that. The problem is that it's so prevalent, it's so in your face that it doesn't face people anymore. It's like you know that the hurricane is coming. It's not if, but when. And not all politicians, I'm not going to put them all together because there's still some good. I want to believe there's still some good. But right now, people wait for hurricanes to come. This is personal because I've been there. I talked to people. 6 months after Maria, I was in the island. I went over there, check up on my family, make sure everything was good. And you see the waste that they're doing, the government, the politicians in Puerto Rico. For instance, I have a friend who works for the power company. He's the one who puts the poles in the ground. Well, he went over there, and the people from, and thank you, all those that came from Florida to help Puerto Rico, but they were putting down poles one after the other fast. Well, the people in Puerto Rico who are unionized, they were putting one pole and maybe 1 or 2 a day.
Is that typical?
That is typical. It's the union laborers in Puerto Rico. It's just, and they got mad at the ones who came over because they were doing such a fast job. They were doing everything they could to get their people going. This gentleman tells me a story that the guy who owns one of the distilleries in Ponce, he's from a different party from the one in power. Well, the power company had the lines to put power into his house, but they stopped in front of it and did not give him power. So he goes to the people who are the ones who came from here. Hey, listen, my house is like, that's the pole, this is my house. Can you hook me up? And the guy says, oh, sure, no problem. So in 5 minutes, he was set.
That's incredible.
That's how Puerto Rico works. If you want a job, you have to be in the right party that's in power.
But isn't that true here in this country?
Not so much as it is over there.
Yeah. Now, qualifications. Why are you more qualified, okay, than the other candidates that are running in the primary?
Well, as a business owner, I understand the complexities of how the market, how businesses work, how taxation will reflect upon the companies. Remember, the Congress holds the purse strings. and we're the ones who have to make changes on the tax structure in order to stimulate the economy to move forward. I've have 57 years under my belt, which I've dealt with a lot of people. I've been a Christian counselor for years, so I understand. I can get to the heart of people and serve them. It's a lot of people don't get that call at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. Can you come over to the hospital because my father is passing away? A lot of people don't get that call. It's like, my kid's in trouble. Can you help me out to pray? Out there, when I'm actually canvassing, I've knocked on doors, and I remember I was talking to this lady last Monday, and she's saying, you know, you're the only one has ever knocked on my door. And then you notice in her spirit, you see that she needed prayer. So you stop whatever you're doing and you pray for that people. So you have the compassion to help the people.
So the grassroots element is very important for you.
It is very important. You have to go out there and talk to the people. I can read books about what the whole county is doing, but if you don't talk to people like we're doing now, you will not know what is it that they need. How can I know what Jane Doe down the street is in need of if I don't talk to them?
Let me ask you, what do they need if you're dealing locally or within the region, okay, for this seat, hopefully to beat Soto, okay? So what do they need? What did they tell you?
Right now, the biggest problem is when I talk to businessmen is that people are not working. There's openings left and right to be filled that are not getting filled by people. They're not going out to work. The people, of course, this is Osceola County, they're complaining about traffic. If I have to go to Poinciana at 3 o'clock in the morning, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I have to leave the house at 2 so I can make it there on time. I can spend, it's funny because from the bridge outside of the Kissimmee to Pleasant Hill, there's 4.6 miles. Although 4.6 miles, it could take you an hour to travel that. So the biggest problem is getting to their house on time. The lack of mass transit that they're having and actually moving from one place to the other. And of course, right now, the gasoline, it's too expensive. When you go and buy it, instead of buying a steak, now you're gonna have to go buy chicken because you can barely afford chicken. And if you're gonna go to the pharmacies, everything went up. So the prices that they're spending and paying now for something that it was half of what it was before, that hurts the pocket.
But according to Biden, people have to sacrifice, okay? But the economy is doing better, okay? Is there truth in that? Is there any substance to back that up?
It's always easy to sacrifice something that you're not suffering with. If I have, Biden, he lives in the White House. He has the best.
No, I thought he lives mostly in Maryland.
Well, let's he's supposed to be in Washington.
All right.
He gets his meals delivered. His clothes polished and ironed. He gets taken care of. That is his office, and he deserves that. That office deserves that. But Joe Blow down the street, where he needs to go out and pay $1 more in gas, it's not easy for them. People on fixed income, that this is how much we're going to get this month. And now, instead of being able to afford $1,200 worth of food, now they can only afford $1,100, $1,000 because of the price going up. So some of them have to decide gas or food, gas or electricity, because it goes up too. So we're getting to the point where people need to have a relief as far as the money is concerned. We need to increase the money of those who gave their 30 years, 20 years to this country working, whether it be a soldier or whoever worked in the car factories. They spend that year working. Why are we giving them a stipend when we have people coming over from other countries getting that money that we need to give it to our people because the president said, come on over. Now we have 2 million people in this country that are here illegally. That money that we're spending, those billions of dollars, we can separate it for those people who need the money.
You don't have compassion for these people?
I have compassion, but sometimes you have to take care of ourselves first, America first.
Well, isn't there a process that we're supposed to follow in terms of coming here legally?
Of course.
Okay.
There's laws. Every country, even where they came from, they have hard legal laws to get into their place. We need the laws that we have. Why aren't we enforcing our laws? Why are we telling them, listen, there is a process that you have to do? People from Venezuela, when they get here, they have to wait a year before they get a work permit. People, oh, and by the way, those people from Venezuela, they come in at night, in the middle of the night. If your time is up, they'll come to your house in the middle of the night, they grab you, and they ship you to the Dominican Republic or Colombia because they can't send you back to Venezuela.
And you know that as a matter of fact?
I know that as a matter of fact. I've read the stories, I've talked to people, and this is first-hand experience.
All right, let me ask you this, because I'm going to use the shotgun technique. You know, this is off the cuff. If you win the primary and you get to go against Mr. Soto, okay? What do you bring? What do you bring to the table? How are you going to make a difference if you are elected in that position in District 9?
See, Darren Soto has made it so easy to be defeated because his agenda is so contrary to what we have. He has focused on the LGBTQ community mainly. He brought that money to give the polls, to make it a monument to that community. And as a Christian, I have to love them all, but I cannot differentiate from one or the other. What you do in your house, that's your business. I don't care. I don't need to know. I don't need to shovel down that I'm a man, my wife is a woman. That's fine. He voted for the 40-week abortion. So his voting record makes it so easy for him to be defeated because, you know, the fruit that he's bearing doesn't go with the heart of the people, the heart of the Christians in this community. When they see his record, they have to ask themselves, am I being complicit with what he believes? Am I allowing my vote to kill all those 78,000 kids in this state?
I remember years ago, okay, when we had Planned Parenthood set up their facility right across from Osceola Regional Medical Center. And I was part of this group that was, we'll say, prayerfully protesting, okay? And I tried to set up a meeting with Soto, okay, on this issue with Dr. Littell and certain other individuals that were part of this, we'll call it a coalition, that wanted to prevent them from providing this type of service, okay, meaning abortion. Because in the records, and this is from court records, okay, when we had gone to court on it, they get over 90% of their money for abortions, okay? Not, what is their slogan? Care no matter what, okay? If they really cared, they wouldn't conduct abortions, even though it's legal, okay,
Right.
under Roe versus Wade decision. Anyhow, I had everything set up with a committee of 5. And so the day before we were supposed to have our meeting, all of a sudden I get a call. Well, Mr. J, okay, he will not meet with the group of 5 or 6 individuals. And I said, why not? Well, they never provided me with an answer. They say, we prefer to meet one-on-one, okay? And I said, we're not terrorists or anything else. We're civil individuals. We conduct ourselves in a way that, you know, is civilized, okay? We're not yellers or screamers or anything of that sort. So I said, if that's being the case where you will not meet with our group, that's it. And that was the approach or the attitude. And this was just talking about abortion, so on and so forth. And I did get to his, speak to his legislative aide. And he said, well, he's a good Christian. He follows his faith and everything else. But because of the decision that was rendered Roe versus Wade, he feels that there should be choice. And that really is disturbing to me. So he's now in the position, a higher authority. He's in that position just following Pelosi, who's a good Catholic, Biden, who's a good Catholic, and everything else. Who am I to judge? The thing is that we have certain precepts, certain principles, certain things to respect life, the sanctity of life.
Of course.
If the heartbeat is there, regardless of age, okay, a developing embryo, a fetus. Now, they don't even use the term baby.
It's a fetus.
Okay, it's a fetus. It's a thing, a conglomeration of cells. Okay, they're afraid to use the appropriate term.
Right.
So I have no respect for individuals like that. Yeah, we have our ability to have opinions on things. But again, if you don't value life, the sanctity of life, what's the purpose? What's the purpose?
They are making wrong into right, and we know that wrong is never right.
Well, what's good becomes bad or
Right.
evil. What's evil becomes good.
My biggest thing is this: I have a problem with if I go to the beach in Puerto Rico right now and the turtles are nesting. I disturb that nest, I go to jail. God forbid I destroy one of them eggs, because then I get a $5,000 fine and spend days in jail. But if that's just a turtle, not a human being, not something that cogitates like we do. They gave more emphasis on having a turtle saved than a human being saved. And they call it reproductive rights, but reproduction rights starts before you start having sex.
Well, how about doing away with the Hyde Amendment so that there would not be any money? Well, originally, we didn't want money going from the public to support the abortion clinics
Right.
and abortion itself. That is disturbing to me, where individuals, and I don't care whether they're rhinos, Republicans, non-party affiliates, and everything else, when they make that decision, well, we have to support this. It's helpful. I don't know in what capacity it's helpful. It's destroying life, the
Right.
essence of life, the ultimate creation. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, we should be environmental persons, concerned about the entire environment. But being that we are on the pinnacle in terms of creation and everything else, we should concern ourselves more with the human being. Okay, the development of the human being
Right.
to replace previous generations and keep humanity going and living. Okay. Anyhow, that's my aside. What would you do in terms of infrastructure? Talking about Build Back Better. Are we building back better?
No. What
So how would you make a difference on this?
Well, I will scrap the whole thing, and we need to have very minute page laws. I don't need a 2,200 page book to tell me that we need to change infrastructure. We need to fix the roads, but the Build Back Better gives 10% of it to actually building and fixing roads and airports and telecommunications.
Is it that much? 10%?
Well, you know, I've been on the conservative side.
Okay.
The rest of it is slush funds.
And how would you change that, though?
Well, we'll cut out all the pork that's in there.
But do you think you have enough Republicans if we take over
If
the
we
House and
have
everything
Republicans with gumption,
with backbone,
if we
with
have
guts?
Republicans with a pair,
Okay.
then we could do what we're supposed to do. But what we have now is rhinos and people who of course they want to be reelected, but sometimes we have to make sacrifices, real sacrifices, for the betterment of our people.
Well, Biden, expanded the definition of infrastructure. It takes everything into
Everything.
consideration. What's wrong with that? We're part of an infrastructure as human beings, right?
Right.
Okay.
Well, we are the
What's
infrastructure.
wrong with that?
We are the designers and the building of everything that's out there. Now, the problem is when you use, see, perfect example. Is it good to have internet all over the nation? It's good. Is it good for the government to control the internet all over the nation? It's not. Because who builds the thing controls the thing. Right now, Facebook controls what we say and what we speak in their platform. If the government starts to control the internet, we know that they can put roadblocks where freedom of speech is no longer expressed.
Well, shouldn't they have the right to eliminate disinformation, misinformation?
You know what?
Okay. Shouldn't they be able to judge and make that determination?
Of course, the government, right? No way. Darren Soto last month got into a forum in Miami where he was telling me, he was so proudly boasting that he told Zuckerman, the Spanish language media needs to be controlled. You need to put more roadblocks for the freedom of misinformation, because he calls it misinformation. But how about we just pour everything out there and let the people decide?
Don't we have the freedom of speech?
Last time I checked, it's in the Constitution.
And regardless of whether it contains misinformation, defamation, or information,
Right.
or reliable truths or substance, Okay, freedom of speech, isn't that guaranteed?
It is
Isn't
guaranteed.
that what, the First Amendment to the Bill of Rights?
Right.
Okay.
And what Darren Soto is saying that all Hispanics are stupid. He's saying they're all Hispanics and
Stupido, huh?
Stupido. So now we need for government, Big Brother, to come and tell you this is what you're gonna read, this is what you're gonna see, because the other stuff you're not educated enough, you're not smart enough to differentiate from truth and falsity. So that's what Big Brother wants, and they're trying to do that to the Hispanic
So,
media too.
in your position, say, okay, as representative for District 9, how would you approach this? What would you do to change that?
Well, we will make, you know what, I hate making laws. I hate making laws. Why don't we just do the ones that we have now?
Well, why not be a lawless society? Look at BLM.
Well-
Look at these terrorists and everything. Burn, baby, burn, kill, destroy it.
God is a
and then,
Right.
even individuals that have been guilty of many felonies, they're released.
They're released.
Okay, almost the same day that they're booked.
Right.
So
Well-
what's wrong with that?
God is a God of orders, and there's certain laws that we need to have. But don't overcompensate one little thing with the other. I don't want so many laws that I cannot go take a drink of water in my house without filling out a form and say, okay, I used a 12-ounce cup, I put 3 cubes of ice, and it's so formatted that we are restricting our freedom.
They're concerned about your diet. It's like New York with the sodas and everything else. They wouldn't sell you the 22 ounce. Okay, it was restricted to 16 ounces or
Right.
whatever. Stupidity. Okay, well, we want to protect you. Well, hey, why not lead into a socialist state or socialist country? Because government should be able to take care of you. They
Exactly.
could give you everything.
Right.
All right? Don't you believe in that?
Well, look at Venezuela and Cuba. They're protecting the people. They're giving them barely enough to survive. And a lot of people want the government to give them their food, the housing, the medical. But then when it comes down to the nitty-gritty,
Yeah.
they don't have.
They
what
don't have
need.
the basic essentials there. They couldn't even, and I recall reading in the newspaper and seeing on TV and everything else, they couldn't even get toilet paper.
Yep. You know what? It's funny. I'm going to take 5 minutes on this. Yes. A family came, we had a client whose family came from Cuba. I mean, this is fresh off the boat. We picked them up from the bus. We took them to where they were going to live and said, listen, let's go and get you groceries so that you have what you eat. We took them to the store, and the family of 4 went and bought 1 roll of toilet paper. 1. And I go, why are you buying 1? Look, that one has 18. No, because when we were in Cuba, we only had 1 roll of toilet paper per month. And that was for the people who came and visit.
One
1 roll of toilet paper.
How many sheets? 6?
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
6 sheets?
But it was, I mean, it broke my heart when they went and bought 1 roll. And that's what Karen Crow, Mrs. Crow, wants us to use 4 sheets of toilet paper.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, a
the
couple years
singer.
back,
Yeah, yes, yes.
And it's like, this nation, yes, we're supposed to be stewards of the country. But we need to have the liberty afforded to us, as Kennedy said, God-given liberties. So we have to have those liberties in order to have a prosperous economy, in order to have a prosperous society. We are the greatest nation in the world, and this 245 years is because our lives is based on freedom.
All right, talking about District 9, okay, saying that you're already in that position in the House of Representatives. What are you going to do for Osceola County or the area that's impacted or served by you?
Well, the biggest concern right now is accessibility as far as roads. We need to.
So what are you
build
going to
roads.
do about it? I mean, talk is cheap, and
Talk
I
is
hear
cheap.
this
We
going
need-
on and on and
We need
on.
to bring more roads to the area. Basically, we need to bring more businesses here. I mean, it broke my heart when a gun manufacturer wanted to build a corporation to bring it here to Osceola County, and they couldn't.
Was
county,
that Smith & Wesson?
No, Smith and Wesson moved through from Virginia. I think
Oh,
it was.
okay.
But it was before that. But I know that the county here said no. I'm trying to bring a gun show to this county, and they're making the law so restrictive that the people say, you know what, Sergio, I'd love to help you. I want to have one there, but the police presence that they need, that is not required. We've been doing this for decades, but they're charging them over $2,000 just to have policemen there when they don't really need it. I know that gun owners are responsible people that when they go to those places, they respect and understand the importance.
Well, aren't they concerned about the far right individuals coming there who have all the intentions of destroying people, destroying things? The far right, the
Yeah.
conservatives,
Right,
the
ones that,
ultra conservatives,
the ones that don't burn,
alt-conservatives.
the ones that don't loot, the
The
ones that,
alt-right.
yeah.
Go ahead.
You know, from my experience, I've seen people whose kids are gun owners that I've seen in the gun shows. Their kids, they so respectful, they're so well behaved because they understand the importance of what they have. My daughter, she was planning on getting a gun, but she says, "Oh, I'm afraid of those kids getting killed." And I said, "That's because the people who had those guns are not trained on how to properly do that."
Okay, the guns are important and everything.
Yeah.
Would you sue the manufacturers? Because they should be at fault, according to a lot of the Democrats, progressives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So
shouldn't they be held at fault and held accountable for
For
what
people
other
dying
individuals that do?
Then we have to sue Stanley because people die from hammers. Then we have to sue Ginsu because people die from being stabbed by knives. Ford because people die from being
What
run
about
over by vehicles.
rocks or stones?
No,
Do you
we
think that becomes?
we have to take that to God.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, because He built the stones.
Okay. All right. So transportation, you'd work on that.
Yes.
Okay. Hands across the aisle. You think you would have an individual that was willing to see the light
And work with
and
them.
work with you.
That's one of the biggest
You
problems that
think
we have
compromise,
now.
right?
Compromise is something that we need to accept for certain things. I will not compromise on abortion. I will not compromise on the nuclear family. I will not compromise on anything that restricts the worship, the free worship of a nation. And other than that, if it's of the best interest to the community, I'm being willing to work.
Shouldn't it be freedom from religion, not of religion? Even though the Constitution says freedom of religion?
Freedom
From religion. Okay?
Right.
Isn't it your right to either worship or not to worship?
If you want,
And if you want to condemn those who are religious and everything else and speak for those individuals that are pro-life,
right.
well, hey, what about atheists? What about agnostics?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't they have the right to come in front of you and maybe destroy your religion?
No.
No?
No, they cannot. The same thing. I'm not. Okay, atheists don't believe in anything. They don't believe in a supreme being. They have the right to believe in that.
Mm-hmm.
Then agnostics the same. If you want to be a Catholic, Baptist, or Hindu, if you want to worship the rocks, have at it. I'm not here to say you cannot worship. What you do, like I always go back to, what you do at your house, that's your castle. What you do at your synagogue, that's your business. I don't want a government that goes and restrict like we had the last 2 years. You can't go to church. You cannot congregate. You have to have this and this and this. Why, when people are in need, they always go to a higher power to find wisdom and understanding, and the government restrict them from doing that?
Well, doesn't the government know? Aren't they more knowledgeable? Don't they have more wisdom and everything else to make these decisions about lockdowns, wearing masks? And I remember the doctor, the epidemiologist, Dr. Fauci, okay? Doesn't he know everything?
Oh,
Even,
yeah.
well, at the very beginning, what did he say? Well, you don't have to wear a mask, okay?
Exactly.
Then you wear a mask. Then you can make your own mask, okay? Then you maybe wear 2 masks or maybe 3 masks, okay? And then if you have a daughter or a son that's 2 years old or older, have them wear a mask. The kids have to wear masks. And we're following the science,
Yes.
aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Now
science.
look at what they're doing. They're crucifying DeSantis in what he said to students. Okay, you know you could make a decision whether or not to wear a mask.
Exactly.
And some of the kids took it off.
It's that there's no science behind it. When Senator Ron Paul asked Fauci, "Do you have the proof that masks work?" He skated the question. He never answered. He never said, "Dr. Ron Paul, here is the study. Here's the outcome." And if people go out there and do their own research and find out that the holes in the mask are so massive compared to a virus, that they're wasting your time.
Well, I remember seeing people. In fact, I still see them around here wearing masks like this. Okay, all right. And we know that you could spread, okay, the virus or bacteria or what have you through sneezing or coughing.
Or breathing.
So what if you? So does this make any sense?
No.
And then some of the masks should be form fit, okay, so that there's no seepage or leakage of
Exactly.
any type of air or droplets from here. So if you're coughing, and then the other thing, what kind of material is it made of? Okay, it should be made of polypropylene cotton blend outside. Same thing on the portion that's on the face, and sandwiched in between like a non-woven material and embedded with either nano silver, nano copper, or nano zinc, which would make it antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal. All right?
Right.
But most people, they wear this loose thing and then they take it off. I've seen people drop it on the floor and everything else and then put it back on their face to cross-contaminate it.
Yeah.
So what useful protection is there? There's absolutely none.
Right.
And I'm emotional about it. I'm emotional because of
Right.
my involvement in public health for many,
Right.
many years, decades.
So
okay?
your wealth of knowledge
Yeah.
dictates what you know and what should be done.
So if you're in a position, okay, to make some type of decision on a lockdown, would you really go that route
No, I
for a
would never-
lockdown?
not for a lockdown.
Shut down all businesses except the most essential, bars,
Yes.
okay?
That is essential.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Bars and
Strip clubs,
hardware stores.
hardware stores,
Yes.
okay? All
That's
right?
essential. what they're doing, it's we are graduating people to the highest level of incompetence. We have a career politician who is dictating mandates upon this nation where he's gone overboard. I don't know why a doctor will try to do that much harm to a nation. But then again, he's not a person who knows business.
Well, don't doctors take this Hippocratic oath?
Yes, they do.
And most of them, or some of them, will think it's hypocrisy. The hypocrisy
Yes.
oath, okay? Me speak with forked tongue.
Yes.
Okay, me tell lie. But no, you misunderstood me or misinterpreted what I have to say. Okay?
Right.
And then they start to backpedal.
Well, remember that doctors practice. They don't heal, they practice. And they will say, okay, you have these symptoms, let's start with this pill. Oh, it doesn't work, let's amp more milligrams. Oh, that didn't work, well, let's start another pill. Let's start this, let's start that. And I understand that at the beginning of the pandemic, it was trial and error. A lot of people were dying. A lot of people were getting killed by the CDC because of their mandates. For a fact, I know that there's doctors out there who were using alternate medications approved by the CDC, and they did not lose not one patient. Versus if you go to the hospital, unless you know what you're telling your doctors to do and force them to actually do the right thing, your chances of dying were greater. A lot of people died because of malpractice, but we cannot sue the doctors because they had the protection of the CDC.
All right, let me go on to another thing, because I say I use the shotgun technique, and I mean that the shotgun, because they spread all over the place. So I talk about this, talk about this, talk about that, so on and so forth. What else would you do differently here in this District 9, okay, that Soto has done that is negative, okay?
Well,
What else?
Even if I walk down the street, I'm doing a better job than he has. He hasn't done a thing for this place. And for example,
You can't name one thing that's positive
you know,
for the economy, for the infrastructure?
let's see. He voted for the infrastructure, which is asinine. He voted for the churches to be closed. He voted for abortion at 40 weeks. That's great for the community. Now, what do we need in this place? We need to open up, bring businesses, open up the way for more businesses to
And
come
how
here.
would you propose to do that?
Well, you talk to the people. You get people out there who are trying to open up their own businesses and say, listen, let's make a way. I was talking to a business owner right here, and he said, I wanted to expand my business, but the power that be, the city, stopped me from doing what I needed to do. And he has tables on the side of his business because he's a restaurant, generating $16,000 a month in tax revenue. The county said, no, you got to close that. Why are we stopping the businesses. I will encourage every business owner, anybody who's thinking about opening up a business, come on, let's get out there. Let's open up businesses so we can hire more people, so that your family gets to have a better way of life, where you raise up people. Because lifting tides lift all boats. And right now the tide is ebbing. The tide's going down because there's no economy.
Are we
no
at really low tide at
Oh,
this
we
point?
are scraping
Lower
the
than
barrel.
low?
Yes.
We're subterranean?
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Education. Maybe not so much in this county, but other counties where they're actually on the sly, stealth-wise, okay, teaching CRT.
Right.
Okay, and white supremacy, white privilege, and everything else to make the white individual, the Caucasians, feel guilty.
Right.
What's your opinion on this? What will you do in education?
In education, we have to, quote, we have to fundamentally change the education system. We need to bring, like the county level, to the parents.
Okay, do you believe in school choice?
Of course. If your choice is, why would I send my kid to a place where he's not learning, where there's an option to go next to a school next door, where you can have them learn better? We need to change the mindset of the people. I want the parents to have a voice, what the kids are being taught, not a group of individuals who sit there and say, oh, we're going to do it my way. We're going to give this contract to Bezos so that he can have a charter school where we cannot even go in there. We need to take hold of the education system in this school system and bring it to the parental level. I want to take it out of Washington. It's a Goliath effort to get it to do it, because when Carter got us with the education system, he nationalized it, which is the worst thing you could do to a system of education.
But again, that's the base, the source of all wisdom there. They know better, okay?
Yeah.
And from that particular structural setup and everything else, they can make the better decisions for the locals.
Exactly.
Isn't that right?
Yeah, in their own mind, we have a lot of unelected bureaucrats dictating.
Statism, right?
Yes.
The status, unelected individuals making these decisions.
Making the decisions that then they have our representatives to vote for and encourage, when we need to be cutting down on their power. We need to decentralize the power of the education system in this country and bring it to a local level where we know what we need here in Osceola County, where we know what we need in Tallahassee, where we know what we need in Miami. Because we are here, we are the homegrown team, and we know what they expect. There's some students who might want to go to Stanford and Yale and others. I have one right now, it's Ana Maria in Massachusetts. He chose to go there. Imagine that, choosing to go to a school.
Choice
of going to get
the
educated.
government knows how to choose the right things,
Right.
the right directions, okay? Well, what about clean air, clean water, and everything else? This climate change, you have, who is it, John Kerry, okay?
Right.
I'm not really focusing on the Ukraine situation, okay, in Russia and so on and so forth. The more important thing, and you can't offend Putin because of climate change.
Right.
What do you feel about that?
Well, Putin doesn't give it. He doesn't care.
He doesn't care?
And climate change, if you're a student of history, and if you're going to follow the science, placing and those other eras that the eons ago, where we had a lot of hot desert regions. Then after the dinosaurs died, according to scientists, we had forests all over the place, where they had so much oxygen that they had spiders the size of basketballs, because there was so much free air.
Well, it makes me laugh going back to the 70s, and I think this appeared in Time magazine or one of the other type of magazines. The whole East Coast, okay, from Vermont all the way down to Florida, we're going to be glaciers, ice, frozen.
Yes, I remember
and then
that.
all of a sudden, we go from climate cold, frigid,
Right.
to climate warming,
Right.
and then to climate change.
Right.
Well, climate change is the appropriate term, because we do have changes
We
in
have
season
4 seasons.
in localities, right?
Yes.
There are certain things that we have control. Yeah, we're supposed to be stewards of the environment,
Exactly.
everything in the environment, okay? And care and show and do things about it. But do you think that a lot of the measures that Kerry and this EOC administration are talking about are draconian.
Yes, we have right now. They want us to change completely my house, for instance. They want me to take and convert it into an eco-friendly house.
So are you doing it?
If I'm doing my best to bring down my cost of energy, but in order to modify my house, it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Where's that money going to come
Well,
from?
from Biden.
And where's that money come from?
You know, the Federal Reserve could print more money and give it to you.
That money comes.
You deserve it.
Of course I
All right.
deserve it. I don't deserve it. I earn everything I have.
Earn? What's that?
Earn is when you go out there and put on your big boy's pants or panties and go out there and make something of yourself.
All right. I know I've been going through this whole process of and gunshot, okay, spreading out and everything, talking about these different topics. Do you think you really could make a credible difference in becoming the member of the House of Representatives in District 9 over the other candidates?
I believe that I have the capacity to influence others, to see the ways. I've been able to, if I can talk to a Democrat, diehard Democrat, and he is able to see it my way, to see what I'm coming from, and they say, yes, I will support you. If I could do that at the local level, we can bring that to the national level. Because all we need to do is talk to each other instead of scream to each other. And I believe that I could do all things through Christ who strengthens in me. I believe that by having a conversation with the people, we can change the way that we think. Get out of the dogma. Get out of the, I've been a Democrat all my life and I'm not going to change because I was a sinner once, but I met Christ, and now I've been reborn. So there's a chance of moving and changing to the positive.
So you don't believe in socialism or Marxism,
No.
communism, so on and so forth? You don't believe that oligarchs should exist here in this country?
No.
No?
I believe that people have the capacity to earn wealth. I believe that's in Deuteronomy 8:18. I believe that there's people out there who will make that extra effort to go out there and make a better life for themselves.
So you believe in KSA, and I'll define that for you. Believe that knowledge, skills, and abilities and determination should place that individual in a decision-making mode that, hey, I can progress. I can make something of myself.
Right.
And if I have these opportunities that are available to me and I meet the criteria, because not every, even though we're dealing with blood and bones and brains and everything else, not everybody has that intellect, that motivation or anything else to actually do things that are going to be beneficial to them and maybe to their family.
The good book says that the poor you will always have, because that's their mindset. But I always remember Madam C.S. Walker. A lot of people, you ask them, it's like, who is she? And I said, this is a lady who was a widower with a daughter, 1919. We're talking over 100 years ago. A black woman who was able to become a millionaire. Now, if you have the first black millionaire in 1919, now she saw a need, she created, and she worked to build that empire. If she could do it over 100 years ago, where that person, if you look at it now, people will say it will never amount to a thing. A single mom with a daughter, she's a welfare case, yet she was able to garnish from within and excel in this country. This country gives us the opportunity to go beyond what we could think. It allows us to, if you have a dream, go out there and do it. That's why Martin Luther King says, I have a dream, because this country gives us dreams and opens the way.
So character is more important than color.
Of course, anytime.
Really believe that?
Yes,
Oh.
if you have a strong character where you say, I'm going to do this, and I don't care, come hell or high water, I'm going to do it, you do it.
Even with the vicissitudes of life, the hardships of life,
That's
what
the-
we're confronted with?
Exactly.
Shouldn't the government help us, though? Shouldn't they take, from the rich and give to the poor and help those middle-class families who, maybe don't have a job?
Well,
at this
lower
particular
middle class now, because middle class is like it's almost gone. But government is not there to be your nanny, to provide for roads, make sure there's policemen, firemen, and make sure that we have an army.
Are we a government of the people, for the people, and by the people right now?
Not at this time.
No?
No.
What would you think the founding fathers would say if they came here, if they were resurrected
Oh
at
my
this juncture
God.
in
Benjamin
life?
Franklin will be like, didn't I tell you that to give away a little bit of liberty, you're going to lose everything for a little bit of safety. He will be, oh my God, what happened? Why did we fought this? What did that lady ask me that night when she said, Franklin, what have we accomplished? And she said, he told her, we have built a republic if we can keep it. Yeah. Right now, those founding fathers will be like Thomas Jefferson, who was like, where's that tree of liberty that they burned down? Where I said that the price of liberty must be refreshed by blood of patriots and tyrants. Where are those people? Madison, when he was talking about, I'm here because, Mom, I have a gun. I hope I don't need it, but at least I have it to defend me. And those founding fathers will be like, why did we fought this war to have freedom and be taken away by generations after that?
Well, the Second Amendment of the Constitution, okay? Why can't we have more restrictions on it? Initially, it said, shall not be infringed. And what does infringe mean?
It means when you put your thumb on top of it and stop it.
Okay. And so, do you think we have infringement at this juncture?
We have way too many infringements of this juncture. The only right that we have is to bear arms. There is no need for us to have to pay a fine who's slowing down the concealed carry permit to carry a gun. When people are like, okay, I've been to Texas. I've been with people with guns. And it doesn't scare me. If you behave and you do what you got to do, I don't care if you have a gun because guns don't scare me. Now, I go to Chicago. There's a lot of guns in Chicago, in the streets. Those scare me, but it's not the gun, it's the people, because they're not trained. They use the guns as a means of protecting something that doesn't belong to them. And to them, the price of life is insignificant.
So there shouldn't be any type of restrictions? What about the mental health having an impact on carrying a gun or use of a gun?
We should have a better study of that. Because if you're Alzheimer's, you have no need. If you have the mindset of a 3-year-old, you're not qualified. But as long as you're a human being that can make rational decisions, and sometimes we are irrational, yes, we should not be infringed upon. Right now, the red flag law is taking away more guns from good people than anything else in the state of Florida. How can the state of Florida have a red flag law when we are one of the biggest gun-loving states in the nation? What we have is people in government who had a knee-jerk reaction for the effect of a coward that didn't go and stop a kid who was doing all that mass shooting because there's no guns in school. It's easy to go to a school and shoot your gun because they know there's no repercussions. And if a teacher has a gun in the car is parked outside. So she'll have to run 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get her defense, to come back and take care of the problem. By that time, you got 20 kids who are dead.
I think I'll probably end up with this. The Constitution is important. Mm-hmm. That's the foundation, okay? Right. That's the great experiment in world history, okay? What was created by the Founding Fathers in compromising and the Anti-Federalists going for the Federalists, so on and so forth. There are individuals feel that the Constitution's a breathing document that should be changed. You think so?
When they did the original 10, then they added the Republican Party, added the rest, the civil rights, yes, they can vote, yes, the women can vote, yes, they can own property. There's changes that need to be made
out of
once
necessity?
in a while.
Okay.
But it's not something that you can just say, you know what, I'm tired of playing with this toys, let's get a new one. It's something that needs to be preserved to the fullest intent. And thank God it's hard to change right now because it's so encompassing. For 245 years, we have survived under the Constitution. This nation it's relatively new compared to the Europeans and the Africans, but we have survived through our Constitution and make it a beacon of hope to the world. And we cannot allow that light to be extinguished or changed nilly-willy. We have to maintain that spirit of American exceptionalism alive so that our generation that's coming, they have a place where they can feel that they have a future. Why do you think that millions of people want to come here? Because our Constitution generates rights for them. And God created those rights so that we, as a nation, can grow and help out other nations. If we start infringing upon the Constitution and trying to make changes, we're going to miss the boat.
Do you believe that the Constitution should be taught as part of a civics class?
The Constitution should be taught every year that a student is in school. Civics should be taught in every school system so that we can have pride of country. I'm not telling to teach people to be robotic, but to at least know what the history of this nation was, the sacrifices of those people, the full measure of devotion, how Lincoln said, how those people gave everything so that we can have freedom today, and people take it for granted. We have to change how they think about it. At least have the what we're all to say, I taught them better than that. They know what being an American is. You know what? There's people right now in Africa who know our history better than a college educated person.
I'm glad you said that, because my wife, who was born in Portugal, lived under the Salazar regime, indicated that when she became a naturalized citizen and everything else, the judge even indicated to her that she knew more about American history than those individuals who were born in this country. And that is the truth. And it's shameful. It's pitiful.
It is shameful.
Anyhow, let me stop this. I want to thank you
My
for
pleasure.
being here, and I wish you good luck
Thank
on
you.
going through the primary, and if you should come out of that on top, take down Mr. Soto.
Yeah, oh.
He deserves
Oh,
that.
he
He
ha-
worked hard for his takedown.
You know when they say dead man walking?
Yes.
Once I win the primary, he's a dead man walking.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time and effort. This is our second episode for this year. We'll see you next time. This is George, Curious George, saying have a good day. See you next time.
Have a good day.